Let me tell you something. I learned early in my journey, money is a magnifier. It doesn't change who you are. It simply makes you more of what you already are. If you're careless with $1, you'll be careless with 1,000. If you treat $10 lightly, you'll treat 10,000 the same way. That's why the first key to financial success is not about mastering millions, but mastering the small amounts. If you can't take care of the little, you'll never be trusted with the much. When I was starting out, I had very little. I used to say, if only I had more money, I'd really be careful. But then I met a mentor who said, no, you've got it backwards. If you're not careful with what you have now, you'll never have more to be careful with. That turned my thinking around. Because here's the truth. Money doesn't respond to hope. It responds to discipline. And discipline starts with the smallest seed. If you only have $100, treat it like it's sacred. Don't let a single dollar slip through your fingers without knowing where it went. Track it, respect it, manage it with the same seriousness you would if it were 100,000. Because the way you treat the first 100 is training for the way you'll treat the first 1,000, the first 10,000, and beyond. I learned to write it all down. Income, expenses, savings. That notebook became the foundation of my financial future. Some people think the small amounts don't matter. They say, oh, it's just $5. It's just 20. But here's the danger. Those small leaks sink big ships. And the opposite is also true. Those small disciplines build great fortunes. Wealth is never built in one big leap. It's built dollar by disciplined dollar. Choice by consistent choice. So if you ever say, when I have more, I'll get serious, stop yourself. Get serious now. Because the habits you build with $100 are the same habits that will one day manage 100,000. Master the small, and you open the door to the large. Discipline with little creates the capacity for much. One of the greatest lessons I ever learned about money is that it doesn't grow well in chaos. Chaos consumes it, scatters it, and makes it vanish before you even know where it went. But order multiplies. Order gives direction. Order makes sure every dollar has an assignment. And when every dollar has a purpose, money begins to serve you instead of slipping away from you. For years, I lived like most people do. Money came in and money went out, often faster than it came in. At the end of the month, I would wonder, where did it all go? My mentor once told me, if you don't tell money where to go, it will leave without saying goodbye. That was a wake-up call. From that day forward, I started building a system, and everything changed. A system is nothing more than a set of simple, repeatable rules you follow without fail. Think of it as an automatic pilot for your financial life. For me, the breakthrough came when I decided to divide every dollar I earned into categories. A portion for living, because life has expenses. A portion for saving, because the future needs to be cared for. A portion for investing, because money must work harder than I do. And a portion for giving, because contribution is the secret to lasting fulfillment. Once I created those accounts, both mentally and practically, the chaos ended. Money had order, and order created peace. Here's the beauty of a system. You don't have to think about it every time. You don't need willpower every payday. You automate it. You set the transfers, you set the percentages, and suddenly wealth building becomes a habit rather than a struggle. It's not about how much you make, it's about how consistently you direct what you make. Too many people try to rely on memory, on emotion, or on good intentions. But emotions are fickle, and intentions fade. Systems endure. Systems take care of the future while you take care of the present. So remember this. Don't leave your money in chaos. Bring it into order. Give it a system, and watch it begin to multiply quietly, consistently, and faithfully. Order is the foundation upon which wealth is built. One of the disciplines that builds lasting wealth is learning to separate wants from needs. At first glance, it seems like a simple distinction, but in practice, it's one of the hardest lessons to master. Needs are what sustain you: food, shelter, clothing, the essentials of living. Wants are what tempt you: shiny objects, the latest gadgets, the lifestyle upgrades that look good in the moment but drain your financial foundation. The philosophy is simple. Discipline is the art of choosing long-term gain over short-term satisfaction. I remember when I was just starting out, my income was small and my dreams were big. Every time a little extra money came in, the temptation was to spend it on something that made me feel successful right away. But my mentor stopped me one day and said, "If you spend it all on wants, you'll never have the freedom to afford your needs without fear." That struck me deeply. Because freedom doesn't come from what you spend, it comes from what you keep and put to work. The strategy is to evaluate every purchase with one question: is this necessary for my progress, or is this just desire disguised as necessity? If it doesn't move you closer to security, freedom, or growth, then it's a want. And there's nothing wrong with wants, but the timing matters. Wants should come after stability, after savings, after investments. If you reverse that order, wealth slips through your fingers like water. A practical way to practice this discipline is to implement what I call the 72-hour rule. Whenever you feel the urge to buy something non-essential, wait 3 days. Don't say no, just say not yet. What you'll find is that most of the time, the urgency fades and you realize you didn't really need it. But if, after 72 hours, the purchase still aligns with your values and your plan, then make it. That pause creates wisdom. Wealth isn't built by denying yourself everything. It's built by prioritizing. You master your wants so that your needs, your freedom, and eventually your legacy are always secure. Discipline today is the price you pay for freedom tomorrow. One of the greatest shortcuts to success is mentorship. I often say you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that's not just a nice phrase, it's a law of life. If you surround yourself with people who complain, you'll complain. If you surround yourself with people who invest, who grow, who stretch themselves, you'll start to think, act, and produce on their level. That's the power of influence. When I was a young man, I had ambition but no direction. I worked hard, but I didn't understand wealth, freedom, or how to create value in the marketplace. Then I was introduced to a man who became my mentor. He was wealthy, disciplined, and carried himself with a quiet confidence I had never seen before. He didn't give me money. He gave me something more valuable: perspective. He showed me how to think, how to plan, and how to act in alignment with success. Without that mentorship, I would have wandered much longer in frustration. The strategy here is simple. Find someone who has already done what you want to do and learn from them. Don't reinvent the wheel. Study the man who built the wheel, then add your own touch. A mentor compresses time. They help you avoid costly mistakes by sharing lessons they paid for with their own failures. And in return, all you need is humility and the willingness to listen. Now, mentorship isn't always formal. Sometimes it's a person you meet with once a month. Sometimes it's a mastermind group where ideas flow freely. And sometimes, if you can't reach someone in person, their books, their speeches, or their courses can serve as mentorship. But the principle remains the same. Borrow the wisdom of others until it becomes your own. If you want to grow faster, change your circle. If you want to think bigger, walk with those who already do. Influence is contagious. Make sure what's rubbing off on you is wealth, wisdom, and discipline, not doubt, excuses, and failure. The right mentor can shorten decades into years. Discipline is the great foundation of wealth, and it's often the missing piece for people who have big dreams but never see them materialize. Most people think it's intensity that builds success. Working hard one day, saving big one month, reading for hours in a burst of energy. But the truth is, it's not what you do once in a while that shapes your life. It's what you do every single day. Consistency beats intensity. When I first began my own journey, I wasn't disciplined. I was inconsistent. One week I'd read, then I'd stop for a month. One paycheck I'd save, the next I'd spend it all. And my results reflected that inconsistency, small progress here, setbacks there, and no real momentum. It wasn't until I decided to practice discipline daily that my life began to turn. I made a commitment to read a few pages every day, save a small portion of every dollar, and invest consistently no matter how small the amount. Those simple disciplines multiplied into habits, and habits multiplied into results. Here's the strategy. Don't try to change your life overnight. Instead, commit to small, repeatable actions. Put aside a set amount of money each week. It doesn't matter if it's $10 or $100. What matters is that you're consistent. The act itself trains your mind. It strengthens your discipline. And it proves to yourself that you can be trusted with wealth. Most people underestimate the power of compounding. Not just compounding money, but compounding discipline. Small actions, repeated daily, create enormous change over time. Reading 10 pages a day may not feel like much, but in a year, it's 3,650 pages, an entire library. Saving a small amount weekly may feel insignificant, but in a few years, it becomes capital for investment. Discipline quietly builds wealth, while inconsistency quietly erodes it. If you want to change your financial destiny, don't wait for the big breakthrough. Build the small disciplines. Save before you spend. Invest before you indulge. Learn before you entertain. The fortune is not in the occasional, it's in the consistent. Discipline, practiced daily, is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. One of the great shifts in my thinking came when I finally understood the difference between assets and liabilities. For a long time, I was like most people. I thought wealth was about the things you owned. A nicer car, a bigger house, the latest gadgets. But I discovered the truth. Wealth isn't measured by what you own. It's measured by what owns you. And the wrong kind of ownership can keep you broke. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities take money out. That's the simple rule. And if you live by it, your entire financial picture changes. Early in my journey, I bought things to impress people who weren't even paying attention. A new suit when my old one was fine, dinners I couldn't afford, and a car that drained me with payments. I was spending money on liabilities, and they were slowly chaining me to a life I didn't want. Then I met a mentor who asked me a simple question before any purchase. Will this put money in your pocket or take it out? That single filter reshaped how I viewed money. The strategy is simple. Focus on acquiring assets that generate income. Assets are things like dividend-paying stocks, rental properties, businesses, intellectual property, anything that produces cash flow without you trading your time for it. Liabilities, on the other hand, are the fancy toys, the luxury upgrades, the debt-fueled purchases that take from you month after month. It's not that you can't have nice things, it's that you should let your assets pay for them. So here's a practical step. The next time you're about to make a purchase, pause and ask yourself that one powerful question. Will this put money in my pocket or take it out? If it takes money out, it's a liability. If it puts money in, it's an asset. Build your life around stacking assets. and one day those assets will fund every dream you have. The wealthy don't look richer because of what they wear or drive. They are richer because of what they own that produces income. Shift your focus from consuming to creating, from liabilities to assets, and soon enough, your money will begin to work harder than you do. One of the most overlooked habits on the journey to wealth is the simple act of tracking. You can't improve what you don't measure, and money is no exception. Too many people drift through life never knowing where they really stand financially. They know their paycheck, they know their bills, but they don't know the bigger picture. And because they don't measure, they don't manage. Wealth doesn't grow in confusion, it grows in clarity. I remember when I first started taking this seriously. I sat down with nothing more than a notebook and a pen and wrote out what I owned and what I owed. At first, the numbers weren't impressive. Truthfully, they were discouraging. But something powerful happened. I now had a baseline. I could measure progress. That simple act of clarity created responsibility, and responsibility created discipline. Each month, I began updating that net worth statement, and with every little improvement, my confidence grew. It was no longer guesswork. I could see the results of my habits. The strategy is straightforward. Monitor your financial position regularly. That means adding up your assets, your cash, investments, property, businesses, and subtracting your liabilities, your debts, obligations, and expenses that drain you. The difference is your net worth. Over time, that number tells you if you're moving forward or falling behind. And here's the key. It doesn't matter where you start. What matters is that you measure consistently, because what gets measured improves, and what gets improved compounds. The practical step is to create a simple net worth statement and update it every month. No need for complicated spreadsheets in the beginning. Just list it out clearly. When you see that number rise, even slowly, it will fuel your motivation. When you see it drop, it will be a wake-up call to make adjustments. Either way, you stay accountable. Wealth is not built in one leap. It's built in small, steady increments. Tracking your net worth is like keeping score. It reminds you of the game you're playing and whether you're winning. Don't live by hope or assumption. Put it on paper, review it often, and let those numbers tell you the truth. Because when you measure your progress, you multiply your progress. One of the most sobering truths about money is that it's far easier to lose than it is to earn. Protecting your capital is not just a financial principle. It's a philosophy of respect for your own effort and discipline. Think about it. One mistake, one hasty decision can wipe out years of sacrifice. You can spend a decade building slowly and lose it all in a weekend of carelessness. That's why wealth is not just about making money. It's about keeping it. I learned early in my career that enthusiasm without understanding is dangerous. Someone once approached me with what sounded like an incredible opportunity, a business deal promising high returns in no time. I was young and eager, so I put money in. The problem? I didn't truly understand how it worked, and I certainly didn't have a plan for what to do if it didn't. Within months, it collapsed, and I lost everything I had put in. That loss was painful, but it taught me a priceless lesson. Never risk money in things you don't understand. Emotion may invite you into a deal, but wisdom will keep you out of one. The strategy here is simple but non-negotiable. Only invest in what you know, and where your understanding allows you to evaluate the risks and rewards. When you hand your money to someone else blindly, you hand over control, and wealth is the art of maintaining control. The practical step is this. Before you put a single dollar into anything, write out 3 things: the risk, the reward, and the exit plan. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? What's the best I can reasonably expect? And how do I get out if it goes wrong? If you can't clearly answer those questions, you're not ready to invest. Protecting your capital doesn't mean avoiding all risk. It means being wise enough to take only calculated risks. Money is hard-earned and must be respected, and the first respect you show it is safeguarding it. Remember, it's not the fast wins that build lasting wealth. It's the careful preservation and consistent growth. Guard your seed, because without seed, there is no harvest. Wealth, in its truest form, has always been more than numbers on a page or stacks in a bank account. Real wealth is measured not just by what you accumulate, but by what you contribute. There's a strange paradox in life. The more you give, the more you seem to receive. And I don't just mean money. I mean influence, goodwill, wisdom, opportunity. Contribution multiplies what accumulation alone can never achieve. I remember when I was struggling, barely getting by, someone took the time to mentor me, to share what they knew, and it altered the entire direction of my life. That moment taught me something profound. Someone's willingness to give, even when they didn't have to, planted seeds in me that produced an entire orchard of opportunities later. From then on, I understood that if wealth is only kept, it stagnates. But if wealth is shared, it grows. The strategy is to make contribution a discipline, not an afterthought. If you're waiting until you have enough to give, you'll never start, because enough is always a moving target. The habit of giving has to begin at whatever stage you are. Share knowledge with someone just starting. Offer resources to someone struggling. Teach what you've learned, even while you're still learning. Every time you contribute, you reinforce abundance rather than scarcity, and you align yourself with growth rather than fear. Now, here's the practical step. Commit a percentage of your income, say 5–10%, to contribution. Treat it as non-negotiable. Don't wait for leftover change. Make it part of your system, just like saving or investing. But remember, contribution isn't just financial. Sometimes the greatest wealth you can share is your time, your encouragement, your mentorship. That little nudge, that bit of wisdom, may change someone's path forever. Accumulation without contribution leaves life shallow, but accumulation with contribution builds a legacy. In the end, people won't remember how much you had, they'll remember how much you gave. And the beautiful part is, the more you give, the more capacity you build to receive. That's the true multiplier of wealth. Failure is one of life's greatest teachers, yet most people run from it, hide from it, or allow it to define them. But here's the truth. Failure is never the end unless you make it the end. Every setback, every misstep, every wrong decision carries with it a lesson that, if you're wise enough to extract, becomes the seed of your future success. The problem is not that people fail. The problem is that they fail to learn. I've made bad investments before. I've trusted the wrong people, overlooked the details, or let my excitement outrun my judgment. At the time, it stung. Sometimes it felt like years of work vanished in a single moment. But over time, I realized those experiences weren't punishments, they were tuition. They were the price I paid to gain wisdom I couldn't have purchased any other way. And the value of that wisdom far outlasted the money I lost. The strategy, then, is not to avoid failure altogether. It's to use it. Failure is a mirror. It shows you where your discipline was weak, where your knowledge was lacking, or where your emotions got in the way of sound judgment. If you let it, failure will refine you, not ruin you. But only if you stop long enough to study it, to ask the hard questions, to write down the lessons, and that's the practical step. After every financial mistake, big or small, Don't just move on and pretend it didn't happen. Sit down and write out what you learned. Ask, what warning signs did I miss? What habit must I strengthen? What belief do I need to change? When you capture the lesson on paper, you protect yourself from repeating it. If you don't, you risk paying tuition twice for the same class. Remember, failure is never final, but it can be fruitful. Setbacks are not disasters. They are instructions. And if you learn from them, you'll discover that every failure was simply guiding you closer to wisdom, discipline, and ultimately to wealth. Time is the great equalizer. Every person, no matter their background, no matter their bank account, gets the same 24 hours a day. The difference between wealth and poverty, between success and struggle, is not the amount of time we have, it's how we use it. Time is the true currency of wealth. Because if you waste your hours, you waste your life. Money lost can often be regained, but time spent carelessly is gone forever. I used to believe that being busy meant being productive. I filled my days with activity, but little of it moved me closer to my vision. Then I learned that the wealthy don't measure life by how much they do, but by the value of what they do. They ask, is this task adding to my future? Is this hour invested or just spent? That shift in philosophy changes everything. Wealth is built in the choices of how we allocate our minutes and hours. The strategy is simple, though not easy. Prioritize high-value activities and cut out the distractions. Most people give their best hours to other people's agendas, television, endless scrolling, meaningless tasks, while their dreams starve. But if you want freedom, you must flip that equation. You must decide that your vision, your learning, your growth deserve prime time, not leftover time. And the practical step is to schedule your day in blocks. Don't leave it to chance. Block time for work that matters, block time for reading and learning, block time for health and reflection. I've done this for years, and the difference is night and day. Suddenly, you find yourself moving forward with intention instead of drifting with distraction. Control your time, and you control your results. Let it slip away, and so does your chance at building wealth. The hours are passing whether you use them wisely or not, and the clock does not wait. The question is, will you let time manage you, or will you rise to manage it? Compounding is one of the quietest, yet most powerful forces in the world of wealth. It doesn't make noise, it doesn't move fast, but over time it can create miracles. Most people underestimate it because it works slowly in the beginning, almost invisibly. But those who understand it know that if you give it time, it multiplies your efforts in ways that nothing else can. Wealth is rarely built in sudden leaps. It's built through the steady snowball of compounding. The philosophy is simple. Wealth multiplies exponentially, not linearly. If you save and invest consistently, the growth may look small at first. A few dollars of interest here, a few more there. But as months turn into years, and years into decades, those small gains begin to stack on top of each other. Suddenly, what once felt insignificant becomes substantial. The poor see $1 and spend it. The wealthy see $1 and ask how it can bring back $2. The strategy, then, is to start early and let your money grow. Too many people wait until they make more money before investing. But the truth is, you don't need more money, you need more time. A small sum invested in your 20s can outgrow a much larger sum invested in your 40s because time is the real multiplier. When you delay, you rob yourself of the most important ingredient. The practical step is automation. Don't leave compounding to willpower, because willpower fades. Set up automatic investments into an index fund, a retirement account, or even a small side business that reinvests its profits. And once the returns begin to flow, don't spend them, reinvest them. That's how compounding works best. When your gains create more gains, and those gains create even more. I've seen it in my own life. The first investments felt almost meaningless, but I stayed with it. Over time, I began to witness the quiet miracle. And that miracle is available to anyone willing to respect the process. Compounding is proof that small, consistent actions can create extraordinary results. But the key is to start now, because every day you wait is a day lost forever in the equation of wealth. Wealth is never just about money. It's a mirror of who you are becoming. If you grow as a person, your wealth will follow. If you remain the same, your circumstances will remain the same. That's why personal development is not optional. It's the foundation upon which financial success is built. You don't attract wealth by wishing for it. You attract it by becoming the kind of person who can sustain it. The philosophy is simple. Wealth is a reflection of personal development. Money doesn't change you, it reveals you. If you are disciplined, money amplifies that. If you are careless, money magnifies that too, which means the real task is not just to earn more, but to grow more. The person you are today is not yet capable of handling the wealth you dream of tomorrow. You must develop into that person. The strategy is daily growth, not once in a while, not when you feel motivated, but every single day. Think of growth as the sharpening of your tools. A woodcutter who never sharpens his axe will eventually grow tired, no matter how strong he island, but the one who sharpens consistently cuts more wood with less effort. That's what daily growth does. It multiplies your results by increasing your capacity. The practical step is to allocate at least 1 hour every day to self-improvement or business mastery. It might mean reading a book, listening to a lecture, practicing a skill, or studying your industry. It could mean learning communication, leadership, marketing, or even emotional intelligence. For me, that hour changed everything. In the early days, I invested more into books and seminars than entertainment. And though the returns weren't immediate, over time they became extraordinary. The truth is, if you want to build a bigger life, you must first build a bigger you. Your wealth will only rise to the level of your personal growth. So, commit to the process daily, because the person you are becoming is far more important than the money you are making.